Around artificial intelligence, how the market has rewarded Nvidia and Microsoft, and left a lot of other stocks that are most likely going to be bigger benefactors from now on. We concentrate on such stocks here. Historically, Nvidia has been essentially hardware. Based on our projections, for every dollar of hardware sold around this innovation opportunity, AI, we believe the software pull-through will be on the order, depending on the estimate, it varies between $8 and $21. Speaking of a known name, that's Nvidia. For the AI surge over the past few years, the stock has been the standard bearer. When you consider the value generated by this name over the past 2 years, just in real money, going from a really large firm, several $100 billion in market capitalization to some $3 trillion, performance really has been unheard of, never done before at that type of speed. Indeed, this is true. And at least on the first trading day of 2025, the momentum it has seems to be ongoing. Investors are going back to the venerable Nvidia, the tried and true there, even with the bumpy behavior we are witnessing in the larger market. Therefore, the share price has been maintaining stability, even with the back and forth observed between the bulls and bears. And on your point regarding, let's simply discuss last year for Nvidia. One of the leaders in terms of annual gains among the top 3, the stock is surging more than 170%. Their most recent quarter's revenue topped $35 billion. It thus simply keeps performing better. Then you started this jockeying that turned into the most valuable firm in the world. It assumed Apple's position, and has been somewhat jockeying back and forth between them, on who has the pole position. But that was regained and just recent as June. First it occurred in June. Later on in 2024, it reclaimed it once more. The momentum so keeps on for it. And let me say, initial mower advantage in terms of the kinds of chips it generated seems to be still present here. Those chips upon which these big corporations depend, and last year there was all this discussion on AMD and would it catch up. It did not catch up yet. Clearly there are competitors, AMD wants to catch up and of course Intel wants to, but it also has other issues to cope with. AMD might be near, but then, when you consider alternatives, some firms are beginning to look at the Broadcoms of the world, and we saw that reflected in its share price. If you require less intense processors than say Blackwell or its predecessor Hopper. Clearly, Nvidia has a huge first mover advantage though, and this year's likely to be good. Indeed, it looks as though this may possibly balloon to something much more worth-like. End of Chapter 8. The next chapter sets the stage for more major technology announcements. Poem Druid's Charlie Shepard. We know the technology race. Things grow outdated so rapidly and will have to be replaced and enlarged upon. These businesses who are investing all this money, however, should also consider whether they should quit these initiatives or items should at some point there be no like dollars and cents returning back to them. I also know they claimed they wouldn't do it. We shall thus accept them at their word. Given how much is being spent on this though, you would eventually find they would want to see actual, tangible dollars and cents in return. Still, Nvidia is at the correct spot at the correct moment to profit. Now, considering what I was attempting to explain, and considering that it's not exactly the last 2 years, this definitely helps one to see things. John Ehrlichman sent this post only to credit him for this. Value of $1,000 invested a decade ago, listed various names, not sure whether you noticed this. Nvidia is clearly at the top. 2720000 plus some modification. Stock exceeded 270 times within 10 years. And we're talking about one of the larger firms on the planet, not some new microcap company. It is really quite unheard of. You are right. Furthermore, considering even the company's beginnings and the concept behind creating these GPUs to provide the necessary power for gaming helps one understand. Now though, it's what's required for the race to rule artificial intelligence. Of course, the US wants to be the dominating place there, and Nvidia may occupy the front position there. They are supposed to be fueling that this year. Will they retain the crown? That does still show itself. I believe there's a good likelihood they will remain the leader in that field. Regarding other developments that we have observed, however, the power shown in Nvidia, or the expansion we have seen even toppling Intel from the Dow points of view, that suggests something, particularly considering that was previously a heavyweight and is rather ancient. End quote. On here, we'll look ahead and we'll discuss a little bit more what 2025 might bring, but I would want to share another sort of little information here. My career truly started in 2015. 2015 and 2016 so experienced a minor degree of market turbulence, but when I came in 2016 I thought, oh, Given where it has been, this Nvidia stock seems really costly. And it did see a sell-off, and it sold off first quarter at 25%. Now you know what the split adjusted price of that is? It traded off from roughly $0.80 to $0.60. Hashtag whatever happened to this rose, and appears relatively cheap to the overall commodity. That is amazing given the distance this stock has come from. And just Bitcoin, video games, and now, the largest of them all, this AI boom in such a little period, up 1% with the market setting new lows as we speak. It's simply been so fantastic for investors and continues to be a really terrific start to the year too. I am aware also of an investment note. There are most definitely several investment notes here, but ideas from that apply here. Yes, invested $1 billion across the space, across 50 startups and several corporate deals last year, and that's an increase over the previous year where they spent $872 million across less than 40 startups and deals. There was a report in the Financial Times, showing that in terms of Nvidia investing in AI companies in this indicates so that they are a war chest, that they have enough to make investments out of the demand they have and from the growth they are obtaining. Indeed no, these days they are players, they are among the businesses with the means to carry out such kind of activity. And we have seen firms like Alphabet through their other bets area, companies like Apple, companies like Microsoft. They no longer absolutely have to come up with the concepts, such as the billion-dollar black Microsoft, and also a database with the ability to capture that. They can just purchase the startups producing these various innovations early on enough to eventually profit from them. And it's sort of one of those, the wealthy get richer stories, but Nvidia broke off from this group of firms. It is really a player at the table. And that particular statistic you mentioned, I believe emphasizes that. Yes, but even if you consider the origin story, if you go to the top of the leadership of Nvidia with Jensen Huang and consider his origin story and started the company at a Denny's, it seems that he would still have kind of closed to heart wanting to invest in the next Nvidia. You can thus understand why startups would attract investment, as well as why that investment should be rising. That next Genesis tale will be what? No. But that's a really good point. You see this in my opinion also with like Elon Musk, or Jeff Bezos, or Bill Gates. You can run down the list. Any one of these big-time leaders. At this time their quality of life is not much affected by slight changes in their wealth or by declines in their fortune. Whether it's EVs and autonomous driving for an Elon, or the stuff Nvidia is working on in AI, or the space race we are seeing from some of these different billionaires. Post-billionaires, Roman Nvidia, they really were not that much different from their previous status post. I'm not sure if it goes from 10 billion to 15 billion really changes anything. That catches my attention then. Indeed, I find that to make sense. Fund managers should not be underweight, in my opinion. This specific moniker is harmful. However, I do believe that some people find the performance and the degree of elevation some of these values have attained in all these names objectionable. Again though, that is risk also if the next man is committed in it and shows returns for his clientele. Furthermore, I believe that some of these other investment theories have a drawback in that, even if you might be doing well, you could lose the business nonetheless.